Let's make some noise. Come on.
All right, indeed, Nick Foles. Yes, let's make some noise, everybody. Welcome back to the final word here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Your boy, MattyB, our final broadcast episode of the night or of the week, of the two that we've done this week. Glad that you're back. I don't want to hear it. It is what it is with these post-game shows. I gotta divide to conquer. And unfortunately, as I've said, this show is going to take a little bit of a hit, at least until the Flyers season's over. But we are back here tonight, and it's a twofer. See, I'm doubling down again tonight. I'm not only doing this show, but I'm going to have to stick around for the Clear the Ice Flyer post-game as, you know, not for a lack of trying tonight down there at the arena, as the Flyers pretty much threw everything they had at the Red Wings except putting the puck in the net. They fell tonight 4-2. It's still there, right? I mean, they're only still about 2 points out of that final wild card spot, but we're running out of time. And some of the things that really got me concerned, and that, again, I don't want to talk about the Flyers like I believe in them, you know, like I believe in them as a playoff team. And that's why I want to stay away from. But, you know, just some of the old habits were on display again tonight. Shoddy defense, just not being able to finish. 35 shots is a lot of shots to only come away with 2 goals. Pelle Lindbergh wasn't in net for the Red Wings. Dominic Hasek wasn't playing goalie tonight for the Red Wings, and you got to be better. But they lost 4-2. But it's still there. So we're going to transition at some point to Clear the Ice a little bit later on in this show, as I got to knock out the twofer. But tonight here on the program, obviously, we're going to get into the Phillies, 3-3. On their way to Colorado for an interesting early season schedule or series against the Rockies starting tomorrow night in Denver. Where would this team be right now if it hadn't been for the contributions of their 2 youngest and newest additions? Andrew Painter, who made his MLB debut earlier in the week, and then Justin Crawford, who's been hitting the ball pretty fairly well, even though he's been fighting for playing time, which I get it. But, the big walk-off yesterday by Crawford, all you analytic geeks out there who think Crawford can't sustain in Major League Baseball because he doesn't hit the ball 120 miles off the bat, I'm glad to see that whole thing is being pretty much put to where it needs to be, and that's in the trash can. But where would the Phillies be if it hadn't been for the contributions of their 2 youngest, newest stars? I would tell you where they'd be. They'd be what? A 1-win baseball team? I mean, let's face it, right? 1 win. So we'll get into the conversation about the Phillies again. The homer take. What is the homer take of the week? It's only 5 games, only 6 games. It's the worst take I've ever heard in my life. I went on a rant yesterday on the Fightins Final about that's such a homer take. As a matter of fact, the homers tonight, let me front and center. Hey, I'm going back to some homer hate tonight. Tonight's going to be a homer hate centric type show because the Eagles are back in the news. And another article about Jalen Hurts has gotten the Hurts apostles, the Hurts disciples, the Eagle Homer fans all up in arms. Where I believe it was Jim Fowler and Tim McManus of ESPN put out an opinion piece about let's read off some of the highlights, and I think it's hilarious. Here's some of the highlights from not Jim Fowler, Jeremy Fowler, sorry. Some of the highlights of that article were that Jalen Hurts pushes back on changes that would diversify the scheme of offense. He wants to avoid playing under center. He's reluctant to let it rip at times, particularly against zone coverages. He exhibits poor body language and seems not always bought in. Not the most coachable, and players notice that. Diverts from the game plan and changes play calls to an excessive degree. These comments, or this is sort of a summary of that article, has got the Eagle fans, or not Eagle fans, I'm not going to lump you all in with them, the homers and the Jalen Hurts apostles up in arms. And I don't understand why. It's not like you haven't heard that before. This ain't breaking news. This is the whole thing about Jalen Hurts. We've been talking about this stuff for years. Why is everybody pissed off? I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why all the homers are pissed off. Because it's coming from the national side. It's not coming from me or anybody here in Philadelphia. It's coming from the national side. And they so want to be loved by the national media. They so want to be accepted by the national media. And especially they so want their quarterback to be accepted by the national media. This whole we're from Philly, no one loves us, we don't care, that's complete nonsense. Of course they care, and they want you to love them. So if we want to talk Jalen Hurts, we can. I have no problem. It's been a minute since I backed up the old Jalen Hurts hate machine. Let's get out there. Let's get at that. So we can talk some Jalen Hurts tonight. And, of course, the Flyers a bit later on here in the show, as well as we'll get in the Clear the Ice. And ABS, the automatic balls and strikes. We already got some problems. We'll get into that on this program tonight as well. Your Day in Philadelphia Sports History, your Of the Night segment, and if time permits, this is all time permits, with the exception of the Day in Philadelphia Sports History, but your Card of the Night segment will return to, again, if time permits. I'm going to try to get him in because I'm going to drop some news on you guys. This is it for me. You will not see me back on the Final Word until a week from tonight. I'm returning next Thursday. It is what it is. I have massive amounts. So that the Phillies are headed to San Francisco on Monday. I don't have a day job, or I don't have a regular day job, and I don't have to work next week. So in the morning, at least, I got like 5 games, but they're all in the afternoon. And the Phillies are in San Francisco. So being the lovable, caring CEO that I am, I'm not going to make the guys on this network that do have day jobs stay up to 1 a.m. and do a post-game show. So you will have me next week on all 3. That's right, all 3 Giants Fighting Final coming at you around the 1 a.m. mark of Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm all over the damn place. So in order for me to do that, I have to cut the Final Word for a big part of next week. And on Sunday, I'm back. What am I doing? Yeah, on Sunday, I'm on the Fighting Final, and Mike's got the Clear the Ice. So this will be the final word until next Thursday. Unless me and Al are talking tonight a little bit. We'll see if things can sort of loosen up a bit. But right now, bank on the fact that I won't be back on the Final Word for about another week after this. So it is what it is. Hey, everybody. Joe House checking in. Elephant in the Room says hello. MattyB, thoughts on Porter Martone's game. 9 shots. He's buzzing around the net. Got his first point in a controversial, which I'm glad they reviewed it because that was a terrible call. That was a goal all the way. The goalie contact occurred well after the puck had cleared the goal line, for God's sakes. Yeah, I mean, he's buzzing all over the place. He doesn't have anything other than an assist to show for all of it. Logged about over 18 minutes of ice time tonight. I mean, hey, and then, of course, the bigger news, Tyson Forrester back in the lineup tonight. I mean, that was a huge, boost to this team. Obviously, you're going to see what the Flyers are going to look like in the future starting now with the infusion of these players. Martone's a star. I mean, yeah, he's going to be a good player. Absolutely. You got to give him time. And I'm glad that he's getting that opportunity at the back end of the season. He looks good. He's just got to kind of get used to the NHL game. It doesn't seem to be too fast for him. It also doesn't seem to be too big for him. And that's the key things you want to see from a rookie right off the bat. The other stuff will come in time. But, he doesn't seem to be swallowed up by the play out there, i.e. Jetlachenko, when he steps on the ice at the NHL level, he disappears because they just neutralize him. They swallow him up. Martone just seems to be flowing along. And not only that, he's inserting himself into the play pretty aggressively. And you got to like that stuff. West Coast games suck. You're telling me, Star Wars? And again, obviously we do 3 out of, well, we'll get back to doing a Sixers post game one day, someday, some season. We'll see where we are going forward. But when you're doing Flyers, it's not so bad. 82 games. It's like kind of one and a half major West Coast swing where they're playing out there in California. Baseball, though, man, with the expanded formats, playing everybody, you're looking at 3 to 4 West Coast trips a season. That sucks. That does, man. That sucks. But we're gonna have to take care of it, man. What's up, Matty? How you doing, Adam? Loud booing from the Flyers fans of the refs giving Porter Martone a cross-checking penalty after lots of pushing from both teams. Hey, welcome to the NHL, young man. Well, in the NHL, there was a lot of calls in that game tonight that weren't called. There was a play down low of maybe second period. I think it was what would have been Emil Andre playing the body before the puck. That should have been an interference call. There was a lot of stuff that was happening in this game that was not called, that could have been called. There was things that were called that I'm not going to sit here. Welcome to the NHL, Porter Martone. You're going to get dinged for those types of things. Who cares? What do you think of the Wings shutting down? The Wings? What? Were they back? I didn't know they returned. No, I don't care. I don't care. Does anybody care? I stopped watching the Wings back in the Paul and Gary Gate, Dallas Elliott years. That was the last time I cared about the Philadelphia Wings. And that was like, what, 1988, 1989? Some of you weren't even around then. I don't really. Yeah. Ain't going to lose any sleep over it. The phone lines are going to be open tonight. That's my plan, Joe. We're going to try to get to the phone lines tonight. But before we get started with the show, I want to remind everybody that this is your week this is the week that was and the week that's remaining. Tonight you have me and you have me. You have me on the final word, and then we're doing a twofer with the Clear the Ice program a little bit later on at the end of this show. Tomorrow it's going to be me again on the Clear the Ice with the Flyers Islanders, and then at some point, this should be probably backwards, Al will probably go on before me, and then I'll probably follow him on the Philly Friday Frenzy / Fightins Final. So a lot of twofers happening on this network over the next couple nights. Saturday morning, you got the best of the week of It's a Wrap Sports, and then post-game Phillies Rockies. Sunday, I will be on the Philly AM Sports program for Big Al, covering in for him. I'll be with Mike. Should be fun. I'm also going to be on the Fightins Final Sunday afternoon against the Rockies, the season finale. And then Mike will have you Sunday night, Flyers, Bruins, and Clear the Ice. And here is our Rockies series in a glance. Starting tomorrow, Al will have you on the first night, his Friday usual spot. Mike will have you on Saturday night, and I will be back on Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. Weird game schedules out there in Colorado. Tomorrow it's a 4:00 start local. Saturday 8:00 local, and Sunday around that 1:30 or around that 3:30, 4:00 start. So I guess they're trying to maybe get some games in underneath the cold weather. I don't know. But that'll be our Fightins Final lineup, and the return this weekend, folks. The return of where's it at? I don't even have it on here. Do I not have the graphic? Why don't I have the graphic here? The return of the Down on the Phillies Farm segment. That's right. Sunday we'll debut that segment for the 2026 season, focusing solely on the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. Is the only team that's compiled any kind of games? The Fightin' Phils, the Clearwater Thrashers, and just those two all began their season tonight, actually. Clearwater was in a rain delay. I stopped checking, so I don't know if they ever got the game off. The Reading Phillies were out in Akron playing the Akron Rubber Ducks. That's what they are. And Lehigh was in Durham playing the Bulls. Tomorrow night, Zach Wheeler will get to start for the Iron Pigs, as he'll get his third rehab start of the spring. Garrett Stubbs starting catching tonight, had a big 3-run homer in the second inning as his return to the Phillies. It was his first game of the year as he came back to the organization after clearing waivers. So Stubbs gets a 3-run homer tonight to help out the Pigs. I don't know if they won or not. I stopped paying attention, but it was a nice dead shot center field. Pretty good hit. I mean, he got all of it. Can't get rid of the guy, man. Cannot get rid of that guy. But we'll get back to the the Down the Phillies Farm segment on Sunday with just the Iron or just AAA. And then next week, it'll be all levels with the exception of the FCL and the DSL. So, and I think we're going to incorporate the DSL, the Dominican Summer League, Phillies white and Phillies red teams into this year's Down on the Phillies Farm report, because I'm a glutton for punishment, because I got all this time on my hands and I just, want to churn out content when it comes to minor league baseball. So be on the lookout for that later on this summer. But that's your That's your week in advance, or that's your schedule in advance here in the for the rest of the week. Even though I don't watch hockey, I still listen to a Philly stream. Okay. Andrew Painter was with Chase Utley. Okay. I love it down the Phillies Farm Sunday Best. Oh, thank you. I just got tickets for Sundays for the Flyers on Sunday as an Easter present. Well, Joe, listen, they're still in this thing, and but we're getting danger close here, folks. So the Flyers have 4 games this week. They're 0-2 so far. And again, if they do not capture any points, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here. I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but if the Flyers finish this week with an over, meaning no points, I am shutting down Clear the Ice. I'm sorry. I know it still sort of seems like there's a chance. They're only 2 points away from the Blue Jackets in that final wild card spot. But I got to make a tactical decision here soon. And if they go 0-4 this week, with only 5 games, I guess, remaining after that, I don't know, man. What are the odds they're going to actually get in the playoffs? But all it takes is 1 point. That's all they got to do is they keep Clear the Ice going for another week. They just got to get 1 point in a week. 1 point for a week. It's not that hard. But we're keeping an eye on that. So far, the Flyers are 0-2 this week, with 2 more left to go. Tomorrow night in New York, or on the island against the Islanders, which I will be on the call, and then on Sunday, as Joe's going to be going down there for Easter against the Boston Bruins. So we'll keep an eye on all that as we move forward. Let's get going with the show here tonight, folks, for your day in Philadelphia sports history. So that's right. So let's strap in, strap on, strap up, keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here we go on your day in Philadelphia sports history. On this day back in 1992, the Phillies acquired pitcher Curt Schilling in a trade with the Houston Astros for Jason Grimsley. Schilling, a member of the 10-man all-vet stadium team, pitched for 9 years with the Phillies, making 3 All-Star games. Grimsley never pitched a single game for Houston and just won 37 games for the rest of his career. Obviously, it was a one-sided trade. I remember Jason Grimsley. He was the greatest thing at that time coming up in the system around the late 80s. Just never worked out. They kept trying to jam him into the square peg there as a round hole in the square peg, whatever. And obviously, it's a one-sided trade. You got a player that's a burgeoning Hall of Famer for Jason Grimsley. So that was really the beginning. I mean, if you look at some of the trade, that wasn't the first one. There was a period of time started in 89. I actually remember the first trade that this team made that was just began a series of great moves. Prior to this moment, it's a series of bad moves. But the John Kruk trade in 89 to San Diego, I think Chris James was involved in that trade, going out to San Diego. I think Randy Reddy also came back in that deal with Kruk. Was the first of like 10 in a row major successful trades that this team did to build what happened in 93. The Dykstra McDowell for Samwell, the Schilling for Jason Grimsley. There was just a series of moves that they made, starting with that 89 move with John Kruk, that just really built that sort of foundation for at least 1 year of really good baseball in 1993. So, and Curt Schilling was a great stalwart of this team. He's part of my all-time Phillies rotation. I think he's my number 5 or my 4 in that rotation. Went on to not only have success here in Philadelphia, but have the ultimate success in Arizona and Boston, winning multiple World Series along the way, the bloody sock, all that. He's part of baseball history. He was a hell of a pitcher. I don't care anything about his politics, or I don't care what he says about I don't care how he lives his personal life. I'm not married to him. I was a fan of his as a baseball player. So, he is a Hall of Famer in my book, and he was a hell of a pitcher while he was here. So on this night back in 1992, the Phillies acquired Curt Schilling from the Houston Astros. And that was your day in Philadelphia sports history. So I don't know where you want to start here tonight. Again, we can get into the Jalen Hurts stuff if you want. It's just, honestly, I thought that when I heard that there was a new Jalen Hurts opinion piece that came out, I thought they were going to unearth some newest nuances to this situation, but then I'm reading the highlights and it's the same crap we've been talking about. But there is one nuance to this article, and I want to mention it right here. So apparently in this article, multiple team sources of the Eagles have been cited in the making of this article that the final play of the year, that throwing it into triple coverage with 4 verticals, was Jalen Hurts' play. Remember how everyone has pinned Kevin Padullo to the wall on that play by saying, oh, it was his fault that, he doomed the season. It was his call, his decision to go that way. Apparently that's not the case here, folks. Apparently the play to go down with 4 players running verticals and throw the ball in the triple coverage, that was a Jalen Hurts play. And apparently that pissed off a lot of people. But they allowed the quarterback to make that play and make that call. So that's not looking good for all you Jalen Hurts disciples out there. That's not looking good for all you Jalen Hurts apologists out there that are trying to run this narrative that Jalen Hurts is elite. Doesn't look good at all, honestly. It looks pretty flimsy. Now, I've always maintained the position about Jalen Hurts. I'm not a hater of Jalen Hurts. I think there's better quarterbacks out there. I think there's worse quarterbacks out there. My major concern with the Jalen Hurts situation is this fan base's cult-like fascination about wanting this guy to be something that he's not. Everything from gloating over the Super Bowl MVP. I've never heard a fan base in my life ever talk about the Super Bowl MVP like it meant anything. That trophy means nothing. That award is nothing. It's a popularity contest. It has absolutely no bearing on a player's overall ability. Doug Williams won the Super Bowl MVP. We can go down the history of Super Bowl MVP award winners and we can talk about, you know what I'm saying? But to use that as some sort of foundational piece to Jalen Hurts' greatness is a complete reach, a stretch, a desperation move by a portion of the fan base that desperately wants to grapple on to the fact that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback when he's not. He's a good quarterback. He's a Super Bowl level quarterback. But if you don't put the right team around him, you're not getting to a Super Bowl. And how many more times do we got to prove that one? Everyone's like, well, Jalen Hurts is the orchestra of getting to the Super Bowl twice. Jalen Hurts led this team to a Super Bowl twice. Well, what did Jalen Hurts do in 2023 and 2025? Whose faults were those? Those apparently weren't Jalen Hurts' fault. Those were the offensive coordinator's fault. So I don't understand. When it works, well, you're blaming the quarterback. When it doesn't work, well, you blame the offensive coordinator. It doesn't work like that. Jalen Hurts is the chief conductor of the Philadelphia Eagle offense. And what he did in 2025 was terrible. And to me, it had bearing. There was bearing on the dinged up offensive line. There was bearing a little bit on Kevin Patullo, and I'll give it a little bit. But the majority of the blame of the Eagles' offensive struggles in 2025 falls solely on the shoulders of their quarterback, because that's the job. That's what a quarterback does. That's his position, the head of the offense. It's all going to run through him. And Jalen Hurts was terrible last season. And Jalen Hurts did not have any sort of backup from Saquon Barkley. People out there in the 2024 season, to hear people say that Jalen Hurts was the main reason that this team won a Super Bowl in 2024 is laughable. It's insanity. It's lunacy. It's cult-like obsession. You could have put any quarterback on that football team in 2024, and they would have been at least in a position to win a Super Bowl. Absolutely, 100% believe it. Saquon Barkley, almost 2,500 all-purpose yards. I thought the stat was like 39% of the offense flowed through Saquon Barkley in 2024. If you took away Saquon's contribution from the 2024 Eagles and left Jalen Hurts sitting out there, they would not have won a Super Bowl. No, there's no way they would have. They never would have made it to the Super Bowl. To sit there and put him on this pedestal up there with the best quarterbacks of all time is insanity. He's a good quarterback. I will give you that. But he's not elite. He's never going to be elite. And what is the other homer fallback argument? He's a winner. Okay. So is Nick Foles under the Jalen Hurts standard, right? Nick Foles has got a Super Bowl ring. He's also got the MVP award. So is Nick Foles a winner too? I don't hear any of the conversation ever gravitating towards our man, Nick Foles, the patron saint of the final word, as being talked about as an elite quarterback. What's the resume difference between Nick Foles and Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts has started more games, I'll give you that. But when it counted, Nick Foles is just up there with Jalen Hurts with the same exact thing, with the exception, of course, he's never lost a Super Bowl. And, sorry about that. Had to throw that out there. Nick Foles has never lost a Super Bowl. And so to sit here and give me this, he's a winner. That's the attribute. He's a winner. What the hell are you talking about? Nick Foles is a winner. Why are we not exhausting hours on hours on hours on end discussing Nick Foles' eliteness, right? Sam Darnold is a winner. He got a Super Bowl. Are we now pinning Sam Darnold up into the elite level of NFL quarterbacks? Jalen Hurts is nothing special. He's a run-of-the-mill, above-average QB that could be replaced. And then next year, I believe they have that little opportunity to potentially replace him, money-wise. So this article, as insensitive, it's got the Philly faithful all up in arms again. It's ridiculous because there's nothing new in that article. It's the same stuff. The only thing new I saw in there was the fact that apparently that final play was Jalen Hurts's, which is interesting. Very interesting, because Kevin Padula was burned at the stake months ago. He was sacrificed to the altar of Jalen Hurts months ago as the scapegoat for the failures of the Eagle offense. It was Kevin Padula's fault. It was Brian Johnson's fault in 23. It was Padula's fault in 25. It was Jalen Hurts' fault in 24 that we won. It's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's taken the team to 2 Super Bowls, and he's also led the team down the road to 2 collapses. That's right, because he's the leader of the offense, and that's what he is. And he's not an elite leader. He's a very good leader. But if there's an opportunity, if there's a problem, because he does not throw the ball into zone coverage, doesn't throw the ball over the middle. He doesn't read defenses well. He doesn't like to play under center. He has had the leakage out of the locker room about going into practice during the week, doing everything the way he's supposed to, but then coming out on game day and changing everything. That's a hard person to deal with. And is that detrimental to this team? And how can you look at the offense any other way? 25. How can you pass the buck on him? Offensive line, they were shaked up, right? But how many times throughout the course of the elite quarterback's career, offensive lineman in the history of his career? Because elite quarterbacks rise above banged up offensive lines. Elite quarterbacks rise above running backs that are not having a great season. All I heard this year when the offensive line was hurt and Saquon was not living up to what he did in 2024, all I heard was excuses about why they're struggling. I never heard an excuse about Jalen Hurts. I heard, the offense is struggling because the offensive line's hurt. The offense is struggling because they can't get Saquon Barkley out of his own way. No one ever said the offense is struggling because the offensive line is dinged up. Saquon Barkley can't go, and you can't win with Jalen Hurts trying to win you football games by himself. No one ever said that. And that's the correct answer there. I'm not going to take away anything from the fact that the offensive line was not 100% healthy. I'm also not going to take away anything from the fact that there was no way Saquon was going to replicate what he did in 2024. I'm not going to take anything away from that argument. But what the argument I'm going to feed into, and it's the argument I had going into the season, was if Saquon could not replicate 2024 in some way, not mimic it, not have the same exact season, but replicate it in some way, and they had to rely on Jalen Hurts to be the catalyst on the offensive side of the ball, they weren't going to win a Super Bowl. They were going to fail to repeat to be Super Bowl champions. And that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what happened. Because Jalen Hurts is not that type of quarterback. The other ridiculous argument about Jalen Hurts is, it may not look pretty. Yeah. What does Homer 1 say? It's like a knuckleball pitcher. It don't look pretty, but it gets results. I guess 125 yards passing, 1 touchdown. I guess that's results. But you know what else is results? When was the first time you've ever heard an elite quarterback in the news for not completing a pass in the second half of football or in a half of football? And Jalen Hurts did it twice this year. Twice this past season, he failed to complete a pass in a half of football. Who are you blaming on that? Is that the knuckleball style there, Big Al? Huh? No, it's the quarterbacks. The quarterback, he's an okay quarterback, but he's not God, and he's certainly not elite. So the Jalen Hurts thing, it's an old, tired conversation. It's an old, tired conversation that I'm tired about having it. But if you guys want to really stoke it up here today, I'm 100%. Bring everything you want. If you're a Jalen apostle, if you sip the Jalen Hurts Kool-Aid, come on, we'll discuss all that too. They won't though. You notice that the homers don't come and debate me. I know they listen to it. I know they're hearing it, but they don't want to debate me because they know I'm right. They absolutely know I'm right. But if you want to debate me on it, I'm more than happy to. Absolutely. But the article that came out by McManus and Fowler did not break any new news to me except for the revelation that the final play of the season, the 4 vertical, let's throw it in the triple coverage, end of season play there in the playoffs, was in fact from Jalen Hurts and not Kevin Patullo. That's an interesting little friggin' twist of the knife, I guess, a little bit there. But why Tank Bigsby came, he did well. Okay, Star Wars again, and for all you Tank Bigsby people out there, he's not the answer either. I mean, what are you talking about? Tank Bigsby can open the phone lines. I can, bro. What's going on there, Bruce? How you doing? I feel like you have a big problem. As you said about the Phillies. So be more specific, Bruce. Tell me what you think the big problem is. It's always everyone's fault but Jalen's. Yeah, listen, and that's, you can't have it that way, right? Elephant. They want to elevate Jalen Hurts to the status of like, oh, he led the team to the Super Bowl in 2024, or he led the team to the Super Bowl in 2022. But apparently that's I don't know. You get points for losing a Super Bowl now, I guess, in this town, but they elevate that. But when we talk about 23 and 25, it's always the offensive coordinator's fault. It's not laid on the feet of the quarterback. It doesn't work like that, because the one constant between all these years has been Jalen Hurts. Absolutely. Now, whose fault was it that Jalen didn't complete passes in 2 second halves of football this year? Was that Kevin Patullo's fault? I mean, whose fault is that? But you can't have it both ways, man. You really can't. Most emotionally spoiled quarterback in NHL. But is he emotionally spoiled, Elephant? Or are we emotionally spoiled? I've thought about this. It all comes from this fan base's desire to feel loved, right? And this has got to be the one thing that irks me the most about this new Philadelphia sports attitude. This desire to be loved and to be accepted and to be recognized. Back when I was growing up, the whole, we're from Philly, you don't like us, we don't care, that was real. Nobody cared. Nobody cared what the national media thought. Nobody cared what outside the city thought. Nobody cared. Now, it might have had something to do with the lack of technology to hear everything and see everything, but I didn't care. My father didn't care. His father didn't care. None of that cared. None of that mattered, man. But now, with this soft ass, touchy-feely participation trophy fan base, we got to be accepted by everybody. We got to be loved by everybody. We got to be respected and all that. Who cares? Who cares? So you might be right. He might be the most emotionally spoiled quarterback in Eagles history. But who is spoiling him? Who is spoiling him? Who is doing the majority of spoiling? Who is enabling that behavior? It's the Eagle fan base. It's the side of it's the Phil Stifles out there. It's the Well, the Homer Grand Poobahs that are rolling around out there on the airways. It's those guys. It's their fault that they've created this nonsense where people like me are considered toxic. We're considered evil. They're considered the moral righteousness of the right, because they stand on good and inclusion and talking positively. I don't understand when that happened or when that all switched around, when speaking your opinion was toxic. I don't, and I never will, and I'll never change. So emotionally spoiled quarterback in Eagles history is correct, but who enabled him to do that? That's the biggest question. It's off to a slow start. Not gonna lie. After college ended, I came back home and had a game scheduled for Tuesday. It got rained out. So I have not done a high school game yet. I got one coming up on the 13th. That's my next game coming up. So it's been a little slow out the gates since I got back from the South. But it'll pick up here eventually. But thank you for asking. I feel Rob is not as good. MattyB, I feel Rob is not good, and I feel Duran could have problems, and I also feel Bryce is not a superstar anymore and causes distraction to the team. Okay, let's attack it that way. Rob Thompson, that's the first thing that we're going to go at. Well, obviously, through the first 6 games, Bruce, some of the decisions that were made, personnel-wise, obviously, we'll start with the lineup. Bryson Stott batting 5th is not going to work. Not only is he committing the bat Stott 5th, but he doesn't even stick with that commitment through the game. He's been pulling him like in the 5th or 6th inning for a pinch hitter. When was the last time you heard that you're going into your lineup and removing your 5th hole hitter in the meat of the game because for some odd reason that you don't trust them in matchup situations with relief pitchers? Matchup type situations or hitters that are lower in the lineup because they're the more typically they're the more unreliable hitters, right? They're the ones that you're trying to get the matchups against. That 1 through 6 of your lineup is supposed to be your go-to guys, the guys that are going to win you baseball games every day. Matchup problems shouldn't matter to them guys because that's your core, right? That's a situation right off the bat with Bryson Stott and that lineup and the fact that he employs it the way he does. The decision to sit Justin Crawford just 2 games into the season, lunacy. The kid's 21 years old. What the hell are you worried about? He's been waiting a lifetime to get here. I think he'll be okay. The employment of Otto Kemp in left field, right? After maybe one of the worst performances defensively where he misplayed 2 balls out in the outfield. One, both by the wall, both kind of misplayed by the wall. The one he played off the wall too aggressively and it bounced away from him. And the one he played off the wall too passively and it bounced against the wall. But we went right back to him, and he committed yet another, not an error, but, I mean, that was a tough play out there, but he should have come up with it. So the decision to go ahead with Kemp primarily apparently in the outfield is a ridiculous decision. As far as the Duran thing goes, I mean, he came in like a lion, right, last year, and he's sort of, there were some concerns going out of last season about Duran. Yeah, I don't know. Duran's an interesting one because I sure as hell, if Duran does not get back to 103 mile an hour Johan Duran, if he doesn't get back to that, lights out, there's no question he's going to close or save. I much would rather have Mick Abel in this rotation right now than Johan Duran coming out the bullpen. If he cannot get back to what he showed in those first couple games that he was here last year, if he can't get back to that, I would much rather have Nick Abel, a solid 4 in my rotation. I'd love to have a rotation right now that would look like Sanchez, Luzardo, or I should say Sanchez, Nola, Luzardo, Abel, Painter. I would much prefer that rotation right now if I can't get 103 mile an hour Johan Duran. So, yeah, I'll give you that. And then the whole Bryce Harper, obviously, it's been the most ironic type of start to a season that you could have hoped for if you're into satire writing for the Phillies. The struggles of Bryce Harper to come out of the gate. Bryce Harper is elite. He is. He's a superstar. He is. But he hasn't been clutch for years, and that seems to be the continuing trend this year. I obviously don't think Bryce Harper is not going to get hot at some point. But does he get clutch Now, he came up clutch. What was it? In the first game with that single broken bat. And I think he came up. Would you consider the home run a clutch play the other day? I think so. Kind of got scoring, not started, but kept scoring going as they were coming back in that game. So, I hear you about Bryce. I do. He's not $333 million worth of baseball right now. I'll give you that. As far as the distraction, I could see that happening, but I don't know. That would go completely against his pandering, What do's Phillies look about Harper? What? Huh? I was going to say that about how Rob takes him out, but not the 8th and 9th hitter, so that is a bad mistake for Rob and also for Crawford too. Yeah. You're talking about Bryson Stott? Yeah, it's terrible. And why would you? So Justin Crawford, what's he batting, like 423? Had the big walk-off yesterday or the day before. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. He's been one of the most consistent hitters down below in that lineup. The Phillies as a team have 3 stolen bases so far for the season. And Crawford and Turner have been on base a lot together, and they haven't been running them. So you saw a snapshot of what I think Justin Crawford can provide to this team yesterday, right? With that slash bunting at the end of the game. You're bringing up, not slash bunting, but slash hitting ability. You're pulling the infield up late in the game in a situation where you got to get a run in, and you got a hitter or a hitter that hits the ball primarily onto the ground. And that's Justin Crawford right there. And I thought it was lovely, and I thought it was beautiful, and I was love to see it. I want to see more of it, and I want him to scratch out a career where he does that, because he's going to be something special, man. I really do. Yep, they are, Ricky. Give me a second. Maybe I feel Painter will be superstar, but I know he has to pitch a lot more and he'll get the opportunity. Pitched well. He did. Yeah. Schwarber's going for third was dumb. Oh, you tried to stretch that double into a triple? Yeah. He's trying to create a spark, man. Trying to get the offense going. We're definitely going to talk Phillies. I'm going to get into the Phillies here in a second. But before I do that, let's remind everybody that this program here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network is brought to you by a lot of fine programs. And one of those fine programs is the Philly AM Sports Show every Sunday morning at 9. Big Al and Mike Lauro will come at you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. to get your weekend or start the closing end of your weekend off in a positive way. I will be in for Al on Sunday as he is taking Easter to, do whatever he does for Easter. Now I don't know what the big deal about Easter is. God is risen from the dead. Big deal. Get over it. Just kidding. But no, Al's taking off on Easter, so I'll be in with Mike, and we'll have some fun with that. So make sure you're checking out the Philly AM Sports Show every Sunday at 9 here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Part of our galaxy of stars here on the network. So let's get the phone lines open. I'm going to get put the banner in there or drop the link inside of your chat boxes. This will be open for you guys to hop on and be part of what you want to be on. Come at me with anything you want. Major conversations, or the lineup tonight is the Eagles and the new Jalen Hurts article. Does it really matter? Is there anything earth-shattering that came out of those articles? Phillies 3-3, and how good or how bad would they be if it hadn't been for Painter and Crawford so far at the start of the season? And I think they'd be about 1-5. That's how bad they'd be. We'll get into the Flyers a little bit later on tonight and clear the ice, but we can talk to Flyers as well if you like. Anything really, anything you want to bring to the table. Somebody dropped in something about the Philadelphia Wings. We can talk about the Wings if you like. It's not going to be a long conversation unless you want to talk about the late 80s Wings. Then I can talk a little longer on that. But other than that, I can't talk about them. Yes, they are going out of business at the end of the year. So this is the second time they went out of business, right? Who knows? Maybe they'll be back. But we can talk anything you want, folks. It is your dime. So let's go to the phones right now. And our main man, Ricky Deal, is waiting on board here. Ricky leading us off tonight. Ricky, what is up? Ricky has 2 losses in a row tonight. 2 losses in a row. They peppered the Detroit Red Wing goalie with 35 shots tonight, and they only scored 2 goals. This is the wrong time of the year to start a losing streak, don't you think? Ricky's just saying, "Let's go Flyers." Ricky is forever the optimist. Ricky Deal, Phillies. How you feeling about them so far?
Good.
All right, Ricky, you feel good. I'm gonna try to make you feel not too good about the Phillies. I want to talk about a couple things. So, Ricky Deal, 6 games in, 3-3, right? Hasn't been the best 6 games. Kind of a bumpy start, right? You listen to some people on this network. You listen to some people around the Philadelphia area, around the national area, wherever you listen to your sports at. They want to give you the whole, well, you can't make a judgment of a team 6 games into a season. But, Ricky, I'm going to hit back at that and say this is not 6 games. This is like 600 games, right? Because this is the same team year after year after year after year. So 6 games into this season, Ricky, are you concerned that not that the Phillies won't make the playoffs? That's not what I'm asking. Not if they won't make the playoffs, but they won't be any different than they have been in the years past. You're concerned. All right, Ricky, also, I want to hit you with this. 6 games in. Let's look at some of these numbers. Where am I at here? I want to hit you with this. The Phillies have scored 23 runs through 6 games. Their opponents have scored 36 runs. Phillies are being outscored about 2-1. They got 4 runs, and their opponents are scoring 6 runs. Through 6 games, Ricky Deal, the Phillies have left 49 runners on base. Ricky Deal, that's an average of over 8 runners a game that's being left on base. Do those numbers scare you a bit? They don't. Really? Okay. I was expecting something else, but all right. Well, they scare me, Ricky. They scare me. Now, the runners, their batting average with runners in scoring position, Ricky Deal, Phillies are batting .229 with runners in scoring position, which actually has gotten better over the last 2 games. Their opponent's batting average with runners in scoring position is about .253. So they're being outbatted a little bit or outscored with runners in scoring position, but it's leveled out a little bit. Earlier in the week, teams were batting like .320 off them with runners in scoring position, and the Phillies were down to like 162. It was terrible, but it's gotten a little bit better over the last couple of days. So you're not concerned, Ricky, that this is not the same old Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
You are concerned that these are the same old Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, now we're making some progress. Does something have to change for you before it gets too deep into the season? Do you have to see maybe a blockbuster trade, or more likely a change at manager? Is that something that you think has to change for the Phillies in order to win a World Series this year? Do the Phillies have to do something in season to really change things up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they do too. And who knows? They may do it. But all right, Ricky, listen, man, thank you for joining in. We're going to do Clear the Ice a little bit later on, so stay on. I won't be back until next Thursday with this show, so I'll see you in about a week. But I know you tune into the other shows, but just so you know, you won't see me on this program until next Thursday, Ricky. You got that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my main man. We'll talk later. Ricky Deal. So Ricky believes, as I do, that this is not 6 games in. This is not a homer take of 6 games in. This is 600 games in. And that's a little different than 6 games in. Let's get back to the phones, and Joe Hale's waiting. Joe, what's up, man?
Wait, you said it's not 600.
It's not 6. It's not
what?
6. It's 600.
It's more like 900 games.
Yeah, whatever. You got the point.
I'm going to talk Flyers. I noticed something. My buddy was there. Anyway, I think I'm going to give you the pick last year. Jet Lachenko is a bust.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the rebuild from this year forward. Peter Martin shows he's got it. Now, if he can just score a goal, they're going to come in bunches.
Well, he will.
Who came? Owen Tippett is more improved.
Since the Olympic break, he has, yes.
Yeah, he almost had another goal.
Yeah.
And why? I understand you started Harrison, but I don't think he's going to be here next year.
No, Erson's going to be a free agent next year. Carson Bjornsson will more than likely be the backup, and then hopefully they can bring Zarajan over and put him down in Lehigh. But, tonight they put 35 shots. It was something like 35. It might have been 32. It was in the 30s. They put 30 some odd shots up against the Red Wing goalie. They were all over the net. Martone had 9 shots on his own, and they only mustered 2 goals. And the one goal was kind of a fluky goal with that deflection in where Konechny was crashing the net. Joe, there's got to be more offense coming from somewhere, man. And they here's the thing. Even with Martone, Michkov, Forrester back in the lineup tonight, Tippett, those players that you mentioned, Konechny, they're good players. But somebody's got to come here to bring all that together. And I said this before. Danny B needs to have his John LeClair trade. He needs to have that this summer. And he needs to go and get a player that may not be a superstar right now, but he's kind of verging on that, like LeClair was when they went and got him from Montreal. They need a John LeClair move. Don't forget that was also the Eric Desjardins trade too. They need something like that to bring all this together. And until they do that, Joe, this is what the Flyers are. They're going to be an entertaining team that's going to keep you into it to the end, but they're not going to be able to take that next step, no matter how much we want them to. Something's got to be done to bring that guy here.
So, who do you trade? You don't trade Minchkov. I would trade Jet Lachenko. He can give you a big time player in return. Yo, ship Sanheim out too.
That was a terrible play tonight. Yeah, I you know how I feel about Travis Sanheim. Okay,
Patrick Kane, the Flyers
hang on.
killer.
I know Patrick Kane and DeBrincat. Both of them could have been Flyers. Should have been Flyers. You mentioned trading Jet Lachenko and bringing back that guy. Joe, if you see that he's a bust and I see that he's a bust, we're eons outside the organization. Don't you think the people inside in the hockey world see that Jet Lachenko is a bust? You're not going to get that guy for Lachenko, but you know who you might get? Listen, using the John LeClair trade as the model, they traded Mark Recchi, a fan favorite, probably aside from Lindros at that time, the best offensive threat we had. Who is that player today on this team?
Konechny.
Absolutely.
Or wait, how about getting rid of the captain?
Again, he's got 9 goals or 10 goals. He can't score. You're not good. You attract more bees with honey, man. You're going to have to. Konechny's got to get moved. And it's not because I don't like Konechny. I do like him. But you could alter this franchise in a Travis Konechny trade.
Would you trade one of the top goalies from Lehigh also?
No, not with this team's. No, not with our luck. No, I'm not. I can't deal with another Bobrovsky situation somewhere else. No, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't have that kind of courage anymore.
Speaking of Bob, he's reunited with his former coach. Look at that.
Who?
Tortorella.
Bobrovsky plays for Florida.
I'm talking about Carter Hart.
Yes, Carter Hart. Carter Hart and John Tortorella are back together again in Vegas.
What a match made in heaven. They can go get the top pick. That's how bad they are.
Who?
LA. I mean, Vegas.
Vegas, aren't they in playoff contention?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're like the 3rd seed or 6th seed out in West. Now, the West is terrible, man. Flyers would be in the driver's seat out West right now for the playoffs.
The loss tonight didn't hurt the Flyers, and it didn't help the Flyers.
They're running out of time, Joe. Because they got to get points in every game. They're running out of time. So yes, it did hurt them, but not in a massive way in the score sheet. They're still just 2 points back of Columbus. I get that, but they got to start winning hockey games. They cannot afford no points.
If the Flyers win tomorrow, yes, I'm calling it. We go to Long Island. Hey, Patrick Waugh, I know you're a coach. We take it to you.
So they're going to go back to back tomorrow and win up in the island?
Jet Latenko, ready for this? 2 goals tomorrow.
Porter Martone, not Jet Latenko.
Porter Martone and with a hat trick.
Who gets a hat trick?
Tyson Foster. Listen, 5 free Flyers. I'm calling it. And you got the call. So
you're not even talking about Mishkov anymore? What happened to him? Why aren't we talking about him scoring goals anymore?
His play's been good.
How do you measure good?
With the assist.
I need to see him putting pucks in the back of the net. That's what he's brought here to do.
I would love to get rid of him, but they won't.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, using the Travis Konechny model, I think if you use Konechny, Cam York, maybe a higher prospect, you could go to Toronto and you could swing Austin Matthews. I think you could get him. I do.
How about where did Scotty Lawton go? How about a homecoming for Scott Lawton?
He's in LA now.
Would he be good back here?
No. I got Scott Lawton here. His name is Christian Dvorak. His name is who else? What other role player that's on this team? I mean, we already have Scott Lawton in here. He's just got under another name.
Who does Peter Martone remind you of from the past?
I don't know who Peter. It's Porter Martone. Listen, we got to get into the habit because Mike's calling him Porter Maroney. You're calling him Peter Martone. The guy's name is Porter Martone. Let's not Philly it up, all right? Let's call him by his name.
Who does he remind you of right now?
He reminds me of a rookie. But he plays big. He plays fast.
I'm going to give you a name and you're going to be shocked. You ready?
Who is it?
Young Eric Lindros.
No.
Yes. Better than young Eric Lindros.
Joe, no, man. Joe, come on. Eric Lindros was 6'5", 230-pound nightmare on skates who could skate fast and had hands and was physical. Eric Lindros was the perfect friggin' package, man, except for the concussion problem. Come on, man.
Not afraid to get hit. Yeah, the refs stunk in the game tonight. There's many, many bad calls by the Flyers and the Red Wings.
Yeah, there were some missed calls too that should have went against the Flyers. So it kind of evens out.
So, Jalen Hurts in this article, I read it fully. Jalen deserves a lot of blame, but he's not. I don't know why they're blaming. They should blaming him, but they're not. I think AJ Brown stays now.
Well, let's talk about the article. Joe, was there any new news was there any breaking news in that article that you have not heard before?
No, it's all the same bullshit.
Exactly. That's my point.
And, I'm actually glad. I watch CSN Philly. I watched the Birds Blast. Yes, they stole your name. The Birds Blast.
Oh, they got a show called The Birds Blast?
Yes.
God damn it, man. Is that new?
No, it was on it's been on TV.
Has it been on for more than 5 years? No, 6 years.
Like 4 years.
They stole my name.
So they said Jalen Hurts does not deserve a contract extension.
It's going to be an interesting situation, especially if they don't win a Super Bowl, right? Obviously, it's going to be how the season works out. And do we blame the new offensive coordinator? He has scapegoats every year, and that's interesting too. That Jalen Hurts has a scapegoat every year for his play, either himself when they play well, or the new offensive coordinator, because there's a new one every year when he plays poorly, and that's part of the problem too with this fan base and their vision of this guy is
Jalen,
that.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Jalen deserves the full blame
Offensively.
So does Nick Sirianni. Why isn't he on a hot seat?
Hey, who says he's not?
Who was it? NFL Network saying he's not?
Of course he is.
I
Of
don't
course
believe.
he's on the hot seat. Absolutely on the hot seat.
Hey, if you want to go hot seat, Calvary Roseman. They did they? Who was it? Mr. CEO Jeffrey Lloyd. Which a good point. I want a dome here. I think it'll be louder and crazier with the Philly fans.
Yeah. No dome. No.
Huh? You don't
No.
think so?
Yeah. No dome.
Phillies. You asked Ricky. The lineup struggles. Why did the bumbling idiot? Yes, I sound like Kaepernick. Thompson gave Crawford the night off.
What, 2 games into a season? I don't know. He said he wants to give him a rest. I don't know. And same reason, why does he keep replacing Stott in the middle of the game with a pinch hitter? As your 5-hole hitter? That's a bigger story for me than Crawford getting a night off. There's a lot of big stories in Rob Thompson's lineup calculations. Of course, the whole lineup is wrong if you ask me, but
I'm gonna something good that came out of the lineup.
What's that?
Brandon Marsh has been hitting.
Been playing well. Yep.
In the season. And Harper had a big homer. So did JT. But
it's good to see that.
I think with Harper's homer, it's going to carry on at Colorado and San Fran.
Okay. We'll see. They don't play well out there. It's going to be cold.
Is it? I didn't know that.
It's Colorado in April, man. I mean, they're playing 4:00 tomorrow, which is good, but they're playing Saturday night at 8, and they're playing afternoon on Sunday. So it should be decent hitting weather out in Colorado this weekend, but San Francisco is going to be freezing, and they're all night games. They're going to be freezing except for one. The last game's a day game, but it's going to be freezing in San Francisco.
Why is it Colorado's home opener? Do you know that? Is that why it's that early?
Yeah, I think it is their home. It's their home opener. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the pitching lineups?
Tomorrow it'll be Lorenzen's going for the Rockies against Nola. I know Luzardo's pitching Saturday. I don't know who he's opposed with, and I know Walker's going Sunday.
And then we get Painter on Monday.
Painter on Monday in San Fran.
His first big road test, and he looked out.
He looked good.
He had filthy stuff.
He did, and it's good to see that, obviously.
Yes. Rookie of the year, Andrew Painter.
After one start. Were you saying the same thing about Mick Abel last year after his 9 strikeout performance in his rookie debut?
Where's he at? Is he on minor leagues?
No, Mick Abel's in the rotation with the Twins.
Oh, is he? What did he do his first start? I'm just
I mean his first start here last year against the Pirates when he struck out 9 when he went up against Skeens.
I like Andrew Painter better than him.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying anything, but I'd like to have both of them in my rotation right now.
And what's up with Keller? Is it what is it? Philosophy issue?
I don't know. We'll see. Relief pitchers are weird because they don't pitch every day. I'm fine with Keller. You know, right now I'm not making any assertions about the Phillies bullpen. It hasn't been awful. It hasn't been great, but it's been serviceable. It's been the offense that has let this team down, and it's been the starting pitching that's let the team down.
Ready? Sack pop. But that all changes.
Well, he pitched good yesterday.
Because Kerkering had a good outing in Lehigh.
Well, no, you didn't. Unless he's pitched since Friday, which I don't think he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He did give up 2 runs in 1 inning.
But
I don't know. I don't know about a good outing. I don't know.
Who was it? Zach Wheeler, another rehab start
tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Durham.
And then what? Is he making one more start? Would you say or?
Well, last week when they were when he was pitching for Lehigh, they said that he's going to get one more, which will be tomorrow in Lehigh or with the Pigs, and then this next one should be with Reading, and then that they don't know after that.
For that, after the writing start, does he replace Taiwan Walker?
Well, that would be what I would imagine they're hoping that happens. The Phillies, they said they want to give him 4 rehab starts. Now, the first one was a simulated game in Florida right before they left camp last week. Second one was last Friday. Third one will be tomorrow. And then the fourth one will be 5 days from now.
It was last Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, yeah.
It was riblet night.
Yeah, it was riblet.
The riblet was pretty good.
And you didn't get the riblet guy, did you?
No, I had the ribs. I'll tell you what, they were banging.
You should have gotten the riblet guy. I'm telling you, that's going to be. I'm going to look on eBay tonight and see how much they're selling them for right now.
Okay.
All right, Joe. Good talk, man. No show till next Thursday, man.
Unless Big Al runs it, which would be cool.
Big Al runs what? He's not running this show. I'm not going to the show because I got post game all next week.
I mean, have Big Al come on for it's a final word with Big Al.
But Joe, why would the post games are like 1 a.m.? I could do both, but I'm not doing both. I'm not. The deal is if I have post game, this show's not on. So Al will be on tomorrow, on his thing tomorrow night.
So we already said
the Philly Friday Frenzy / Fightins final tomorrow night, and then now me and Al have talked. He might take one of those late games from me, and I may do a final word on Tuesday. Or Wednesday, maybe Wednesday. We'll see. We'll see if we can work that out. But right now, the next final word will be next Thursday.
Makes sense.
Yes, it does. All right, Joe. Have a great weekend, and don't forget to keep tuning in, man. All right.
Yep.
All right, my man, Joe Hale. All right. Interesting conversation there. Yes, and I do a PSA to the city of Philadelphia, and I love you. I do. God knows I'm as guilty as the next, but his name is Porter Martone. All right. Not Maroney, not Peter. It's Porter Martone. All right. We have a problem here. And I'm not raising myself above you, but saying that I'm not guilty too. But let's turn over a new leaf. Let's start calling these people by the right names. All right. Because, well, it is what that is. So, but Porter Martone, listen, and we're going to get into the Flyers. We're going to transition to the clear the ice here real quick, but I like what I'm seeing from him. He's a highly touted prospect, and right now, if you're looking at the draft picks over the last 5 years, I mean, he's really it that we could get excited about. Obviously, right now, so. And again, 2 games into his career, I'm not going to sit here to make any hardcore decisions about him as a player, other than the obvious stuff that you want to see right off the bat, and that is he doesn't seem to be swallowed up by the game. He was very assertive, very aggressive. He was very much in the play, and that's what you want to see from a young rookie, and that just will go, up from there, and then he'll eventually start finding the back of that net. So. That's the good positive things about Martone, not Maroney, Martone. So it's really good to see that. But yeah, we'll talk about the Flyers here in a bit. Great conversation tonight about the Phillies. Yeah, it's 6 games in. It is, but don't. How dare you? And I'll have my chance because Mike is a big problem with this, and Al too, and all homers. Honestly, it's not special to them too. To say that, it's only 5 games. What are you getting all right? It's not. And as Joe Hale corrected my math, it's like 900. I'm going to go back and actually do the math. But it's a lot more than 6. Okay. And that's what I think the main frustration of the fan base is that it's not 6 games. It's like 700, 600 games of the same core. That's the problem. But good stuff tonight, folks. All right. So I tell you what, I'm going to put the of the night. I'm going to put the card review on the back burner for another week. And we're going to go right into the Clear the Ice show. We'll talk Flyers. We'll talk Red Wings. I got to pay the bills on that one. So, because we're well into an hour of this program. So stay tuned. Don't go nowhere, please. We are going to transition right now to Clear the Ice. And I'll be back in about 40 seconds. All right, yeah, we are back. It is time for the Clear the Ice here on the Instant Rap Sports Network. It's your boy MattyB on the call. You might have remembered me from the final word about, I don't know, 20 seconds ago. Tonight, Flyers fall 4-2 down there at the arena. And in the second game of Porter Martone's career, the return of Tyson Forster. And, of course, Sam Ersson getting the nod tonight in between the pipes. Not a bad night for Ersson. Played well. Flyers really threw everything they had at the Red Wings, but just could not get through. And this is, again, this is what they are, right? This is above all the hype and above all the good news and good vibes about a team that's not quitting, a team that's fighting their way through this, and they are. But this is what they are. They're a bunch of really highly skilled role players, lacking that guy, lacking that main push, that main effort on that main line. And this is what you're going to see. But this is a positive step in the rebuild because we're talking Flyers hockey in April. I mean, normally I'd be done with this show by now. Well, we'd be moving on to the Phillies full time, but because of this upbeat, uptick, fighting type nature and a much improved goaltending situation from a year ago, they're in it. But as I alluded earlier on the final word with MattyB, when Joe Hale called in, it's time for Danny Barrere to have his John LeClair trade moment. If you want to get serious about this rebuild, that trade has to happen. That franchise-altering trade for whatever team he decides to trade whoever to, but that trade needs to happen. And yes, in this case, John LeClair trade is Travis Konechny. He is our best offensive weapon right now, proven NHL commodity. He could bring the most in return. And I'm not talking assets. I'm talking players that are currently on rosters right now. And Austin Matthews seems to be, I'm sort of zeroing in on Austin Matthews wearing orange and black here because I really think he would help bring all this stuff together. To bring in Austin Matthews here in the very near future. So until Danny B has that moment in that trade, because with free agency, it's not going to work the way everybody wants it to work. There's not really players out there that fit that mold. Now, if you were able to pull off an Austin Matthews type trade, then there are a couple older centermen that you could bring in here on short-term deals that could aid in this sort of kick in the ass type rebuild, right? That changes the complexity. It changes the dynamic of the Flyers' free agent needs if they're able to pull off a John LeClair trade. You're going to hear me talk about this for months coming up now. Until they do it, but that would change everything on this team. So more about that, of course, in the months following. Let's head to the ice here in this game. As Joe said earlier, also on the show, a lot of interesting calls down there tonight. A lot of back and forth, a lot of chippiness, a lot of missed calls on both sides. The Travis Konechny goal that he Martone, by the way, with his first NHL point tonight on that assist. The goal was initially not called no goal due to goaltending interference. They reviewed it, and it was obviously overturned to be a good goal. So, that's again the positivity about a Porter Martone. So let's get into this game here. But I'm going to go a little different. I want to talk box score first. I want to talk about a couple players from this Flyers team tonight. Tyson Forster being the one returning from injury, gets a goal tonight, by the way. Also logged in about 16 minutes and 19 seconds, 23 shifts, finished the night with 4 shots on net and a +2 on the score sheet. And Porter Martone got the assist, his first career NHL point, finished the night with a +1, logged in over 18 minutes of ice time and shot and registered 9 shots on net. Again, that's what I mean by a player that's not getting swallowed up by the game. He's not only not getting swallowed up by it, he's sort of like spitting it out in their face. Matthew Michkov, in stark contrast, 13 minutes and 48 seconds of ice time, and he registered 3 shots on net. So again, I don't know if whatever you want to say, man. Michkov might be in play too if you're asking me for a trade partner. But so I just want to highlight some of those names. Of course, in net for the Flyers tonight was Ersson. He faced 19 shots, and he finishes with a putrid 7.89 save percentage. Again, he didn't see much work, and he gave up 4 goals. They were wonky goals. 2 of them were kind of wonky. One was on him. 19 shots faced, and he gives up 4 goals. That's not great, they were sort of wonky goals, but you still got to, when you're facing 19 shots, you got to be better than that. He finishes with a save percentage save percentage below 8.789. The goaltending situation is better, and you have a back-to-back. Urson was playing in one of these games, whether it be tonight or tomorrow in New York. It was going to be one of these games. I personally would have. I was looking at this game as more of the, not that none of these games are throwaway games. These all count. These all matter. But tonight, this game to me would have counted and mattered more. One, it was at home. It's a team that you're right there with in the standings. I would have sort of like took my chances with the Islanders tomorrow night with Urson. So I would have went with Vladar tonight personally. We can, debate that back and forth, but you'll see Vladar tomorrow. But Urson only faces 19 shots. And he gives up 4 goals and finishes with a 7.89 save percentage. This is not good. That's not good. And in retrospect, Gibson faced 34 shots, finishes with a 9.41 save percentage because he only gives up 2 goals. So the Flyers came at him with everything, and they just couldn't finish it. Let's head now to the game and head now to the ice. Again, some of the stuff we talk about before we start is the healthy scratches or the non-actives tonight. Travis Hammock, Michael Rasmus, and Carter Mazur were all inactive tonight for Detroit. For the Flyers, Garrett Wilson, Garnet Hathaway, Noah Juleson, Alex Bump, and Nikita Gurbenkin were inactive for your Philadelphia Flyers. The Red Wings would get it going early in this year, not early, late in the first period at the 18:49 mark on the power play. Alex DeBrincat, remember that name tonight. His 38th from Kane, remember that name tonight. And Sider to make it 1-0 Detroit. Again, those late period goals, you can't give them up, man. And that was a backbreaker heading into the intermission. That was all the scoring in the first period. The Red Wings and Flyers would finish that period with 7 shots apiece. Tyson Forster, his 11th in his return from the broken arm. Was that what it was? I don't even remember. Was it a broken arm that he missed the last 5 months on? His 11th goal of the year from Tippett and Zegras at the 31-second mark of the second period to tie things up at 1. So in this case, giving up the late period goal, which you're concerned that it'll affect you coming into the new period. Well, the Flyers sort of, boomerang that, and they actually got on the positive side and got that equalizer early in the second period to tie things up at 1-1. But then here we go, another late in the period goal. Lucas Raymond, his 25th from Comper and Edvinson at the 18:29 mark to give the Red Wings a 2-1 lead heading into the second intermission. So you have Urson playing well for the first 18 plus minutes of a period, but then coming up short at the back end of 2 periods. The Flyers outshot Detroit 12-8 in that second period. In the third period, Patrick Kane, told you to remember that name, his 14th from Coop, his 31st, 3-1 Detroit at 9:37. And then the Travis Konechny goal that was initially ruled no goal due to goaltender interference or contacting the goaltender, or whatever they want to call it, was reviewed and overturned as he got credit for his 27th goal of the season. Peter Maroni. Put them both. Peter Maroni. Porter Martone. His first assist, first NHL point. And Christian Dvorak on the other assist. 3-2 Flyers. But 15 seconds later, Alex DeBrincat on a terrible play by that fraud Travis Sanheim. You want to pull. Listen, Travis Sanheim is respected around the NHL. They love him. He's respected around the NHL. He's respected internationally on the international hockey scene. So here you go. Travis Konechny. And what's his name? And Sanheim. And Travis Sanheim, the Travises, to Toronto for Austin Matthews. And I got to think of the other player. I haven't given this trade that much thought. That is a John LeClair trade. If I ever heard one, that is a trade that I'd be all in on. Let's see if we can make that happen. But he gives up the bad clearing attempt that finds its way basically on the Patrick Kane stick, which then finds its way onto Alex DeBrincat's stick, which then finds its way into the back of the net. And a fluky goal, I'll give you that, off the side there. But DeBrincat's 39th at 10:44 to give it the Red Wings a 4-2 lead. they would finish the third period with being outshot by the Flyers 15-4. So they registered 4 shots in the third period. The Flyers registered 15. And Detroit scored on one of their 4 shots. And there you have 4-2. And this is a typical loss from a typical Flyers team that's built like this. This is what you see a lot more than you need to, and especially at this point of the year. And you don't want to. This is not the time to debut a losing streak for the Flyers as they fall tonight, 4-2. And now the road to the playoffs is getting that much bumpier. They didn't really lose much ground tonight. They're still in this thing, but they are 1 game less. Let's look at our schedule here on the program. I'll be back tomorrow with a standalone Clear the Ices. I got you on the call for the Islanders, and then Mike will have you on Sunday. So here's the rest of the Clear the Ice for the week. The Flyers cannot afford not to gain points in every game. It's very, very down and dirty, straightforward. They got to get points in every single game. And tonight, and on Tuesday night, another missed opportunity. You're running out of games. No one's pulling away with this, but the Flyers are running out of time. But I've also attested that I don't really care if they make the playoffs. I really don't. I don't. I want a higher draft pick. But Flyers lose tonight 4-2, and Porter Martone's first career point, the return of Tyson Forrester, and the below 8 save percentage on Sam Emerson. So there's the top stories in this game. So that's it. Now I'm wrapping it up. We'll talk more Flyers, of course, moving forward. Again, the John LeClair trade is what has to happen to get this rebuild going in the right direction. But the season turns on tomorrow night. Flyers will be in New York to play the Islanders and on the island. And then on Sunday at home against Boston for Easter. So strap it up, man. We're going to keep turning them out. As long as the Flyers get points, 1 point in a week's worth of play, that's all they need. And I will return this show next week. But right now, halfway into this week's schedule, and we got no points. So let's see if their fortunes turn tomorrow night against the Islanders. And we'll be here at the conclusion of the game or at some point right after that. Me and Al are going to have to do some coordination because he'll be on at 9. I'll probably show up. I'll probably go on after Al does tomorrow night. So just be on the lookout for me then. Until then, you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you for joining the Final Word, and thank you for joining the Clear the Ice. A Twofer tonight here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy, MattyB. I will see you guys again tomorrow night on postgame from the island. Until then, you guys enjoy the last day of your work week, and I hope your weekend starts out well. We'll see you later.